This Soonerscoop.com video is streaming in crystal clear 4K resolution on YouTube thanks to Enjoy Vision in Oklahoma City. Don't miss a moment on or off the field. Make every day a highlight with LASIK at Enjoy Vision. Enjoy Vision. This is where Sooner Scoop LASIK.
Hello and welcome back. Eddie Radosevich, George Stoia, Josh McCuistion down at Houston HQ. Welcome back to a Gameday Rewind, Soonerscoop.com YouTube channel, reviewing Oklahoma's 24-17 win over Auburn over the weekend. Doesn't come without controversy. We'll get into plenty and everything from a dominant defensive performance to John Mateer's game-winning drive to special teams. What were you going to say, George? Hello.
Well, we got word from the SEC office that it's actually going to be a tie.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a little bit of fake news, but it would probably make Auburn fans a little bit more happier today. Tough blow for them.
Yeah.
Bruce Pearl announces he's going to retire. It's been reported on Monday afternoon. So Stephen Pearl taking over at the Auburn program. And, we were just talking to Justin Hawkinson on the Gameday Rewind last week, and he was at basketball practice. We were kind of giving him hell about if he was going to run for senator. So certainly been an interesting time for Oklahoma. Good news for Oklahoma, though. They are 4-0. Here is the bye week. Plenty of stuff to come here on the Soonerscoop.com YouTube channel. Just because it's a bye week doesn't mean that we're going to take any days off as much as George begged and wished that we could. We work every day around these parts. Josh, how are we?
Good, guys. Just as we all predicted, I think this game middled all of us. George was certain Jackson Arnold was going to have a moment, and he kind of did.
Yeah.
And at the same time, OU covered. So, I think it kind of middled us all out. We all got to be a little bit right.
I talked to many alumni on Saturday night that were blown away impressed with the safety with about a minute left to cover for Oklahoma on the afternoon. A weekend of just terrible bad beats, too. I don't know if you guys watched any of the NFL happenings yesterday.
Yeah, crazy.
I'm still here because I didn't bet the Rams-Eagles game on Sunday because that probably would have been the end of me. Oklahoma does move up to number 7 in the Associated Press poll, the highest ranking since 2023, correct? Coming out of the
they were number
Texas
6
weekend?
After beating Texas in 2023.
Just kind of crazy that we're talking about a top 10 team here. We'll get into the game, but before we do that, let us tell you about our good friends over at homefieldapparel.com. Of course, we've been telling you about Homefield, the premium collegiate-based apparel brand out of Indianapolis, officially licensed apparel with vintage college designs. Plenty of stuff. As you see the jacket here, the vintage script bomber jacket that was gifted from Joe Castiglione to one Paul Feinbaum, who George and I joined on Friday.
Yeah, he looked great in that jacket. They've got a lot of really good stuff on there that I'm sure Paul Feinbaum would like to have.
Don't know if the Stetson cowboy hat is in there, but plenty of hats, as you've seen here on the set behind us. The embroidered tri-stripe crew neck, which I'm sure Oklahoma fans are hoping that they can pull out some crew neck sweaters here over the next couple of weeks, maybe when Oklahoma returns to the field next Saturday against Kent State. But all you got to do is go to homefieldapparel.com and check out all of their vintage college designs. Now the coach's jacket, bomber's jacket, hats, crew necks, plenty of things to choose from, including the badass 1988 Final Four shooting shirt that we might have to get one George Stoia before it's all said and done.
It's pretty sweet.
I mean, you put that on before a game, you're going to shoot 90% from the field.
I would do that anyways, but I agree.
That's another lie. We're 0 for 2 today. All right, thank you to our good friends over at homefieldapparel.com. First things first, here on a Monday, two areas of recognition from the SEC offices on Monday morning. Our Mason Thomas, just one half of work, 2 sacks, the 2 tackles for loss, 4 tackles on the afternoon, and just the second half, incredible just kind of story there to see him come back from the suspension of the first half, and then obviously the way that he punctuated the defensive performance.
Yeah, he was awesome. Just totally dominant. There he is. He had that great line.
Unbelievable
What did he
quote.
say?
Hallelujah, thank you, Jesus.
That was awesome. But he was fantastic, man. Like, you come in the second half, and I don't know what to expect. Like, I didn't expect him to just come in and wreck the game like he did, but he was phenomenal. And let me see how many snaps.
I didn't think about it at the time, but looking back at the sack there, the first one they had against Jackson, Josh, that could have very easily been maybe subject to targeting.
He hits. I mean, the top of his helmet hits the back of Jackson's helmet. Like, he played with fire a little bit there.
Airborne.
The thing that I thought in real time was, like, he had so much time to plan his basic attack. I kind of was like, can we go for the strip a little bit? Like maybe pop that out, little penny poke or like something like just. I mean, and again, I know it's super nitpicky. I 100% get it, but it just like that was my takeaway. Was like that's awesome. It probably could have been even more deadly for Auburn.
He played 28 snaps in the game, which I would assume was I don't know how many there were first half, second half, but he played the majority of that second half.
I could tell you, Alabama. Sorry, they're on the mind. I feel bad for these people having to live next to Auburn fans all the time. 69 plays. For
well,
Auburn?
yeah, I meant like in the second half. How many plays in the second half were there? But I would assume somewhere in the 30.
Yeah,
range.
no doubt
he
about
played
it.
almost every snap of the second half.
Or Mason Thomas, his presence was certainly felt. We'll get him more into the defensive side of things. The second, not secondary, but the second honoree this week, Grayson Miller, Special Teams Player of the Week. He averaged 54.4 per punt, yards per punt.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, just kind of story. I know that we've mentioned it a couple times, but just his story to get to Oklahoma, and now he's the starting kicker and a Special Teams Player of the Week for the SEC. Unbelievable, 66-yard punt here.
Yeah, this is 66-yarder. And the Auburn player, I don't know what the heck he's doing.
Terrible.
Even fielding that, but he was fantastic. He actually now after this weekend leads the country in yards per punt at 51, number 1 in the country. That's insane.
It's absolutely
he was a soccer player for UCO.
Formerly Deer Creek High School, I believe, going all the way back to his Edmond days. But yeah, he was phenomenal. We'll get more into the special teams. I think that lost in all the controversy that comes out of Saturday. I think one-sided controversy at that.
Thomas.
Certainly seems like that was kind of like lost in the mix. Like OU was very, very good in special teams, and we talked about that in the instant reaction on Saturday evening that you can see here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel. But as we said, the controversy certainly was out there online after the game. Isaiah Satania in the middle of all of it during Saturday's game. Josh, I guess we'll just start here. Basically, the first series of the game came with controversy. What'd you have on the play? Was it an incomplete pass, as it turns out? That's what the official ruling was. Was it a catch and a fumble? Was he down? So many different areas that can be covered in this one play in the first quarter.
My initial conclusion was like, I'm going to sound like a big-ass OU homer here, but there was no way that play turned out badly for Oklahoma to me because there's only two real possibilities. One, you ruled it an incompletion. Okay, fine. Like the ball was moving. I think it's a fair call. At the same time, if you're going to rule he had control, his butt hits the ground before he loses the ball. Like I don't know how the fumble was ever even in the equation because he clearly hits the ground. Like I don't know what, like right there, he's down. If you're going to call it a boom.
Yeah.
Is the ball coming out, though? Like, initially, I thought it was a fumble. I thought it was a catch and a fumble. But I can see where the other sides of that.
The TV review, though, I think they got the call right because I don't think he really ever had it because as soon as he starts to bring it into his body, he loses it again. And then he brings it into his body again, like Josh is saying, and he's on the ground. So, I think they got it right on the call. Like, I don't think he ever really had full possession. He didn't make a football move with it. So, that one is I don't know. I know Auburn fans are mad about all the officiating, but that one to me is the most clear cut in terms of what happened. And even the catch he had later in the game on the final drive, the game winning drive, I thought that was pretty clearly a catch.
I did too.
So I think they got that right.
I thought it was pretty clearly a catch just watching it live. Yeah. I thought that they blew it, Josh.
Yeah, guys, I literally, for those that follow along, like I'm almost done with the idiot. I literally went over this play probably 30 minutes ago. He's got three steps in bounds, and at no point does the ball move. Like as likely as he was to have not caught that ball was a cheerleader to have been the one that caused the fumble. Like guys, at some point, if you are worried about hitting a cheerleader, it's a catch. Like we don't have to worry about that anymore. The play is over. He makes he almost is off the white before the ball comes loose. I don't know what we're doing here, and I think I get that the catch thing can be complicated, and there's obviously the Des Bryant and all the other kind of famous catch no catch situations, but I feel like we overcomplicate this stuff. Like he clearly had control. He made a football move. He had multiple feet in bounds. Like, I don't really care what he does when the guy is literally falling down and just swipes at the ball. Like that's good for the Auburn guy for not giving up on it, but that's a catch.
That fourth quarter catch, certainly not as controversial as the second quarter touchdown. And that brings us to the Isaiah Satania touchdown. And I'll be honest, like, we almost missed video of this because it was so quick in between the play before and then obviously them getting to the line and snapping it. Josh, I guess let's just go here. What's your take? I know that we talked about it a little bit on the Eskridge Lexus postgame podcast with Kerry Burdock. George and I did, but just your overall take on a play that and this is a couple of series after Ben Arbuckle goes to the referees and he starts drawing on the piece of paper. I'm guessing that they were explaining what happened as it was reported by Toby Rowland on Sunday evening.
Well, that was before. He talked to him before the game.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If you let me finish, George.
Well, I thought you were saying that he was like trying to explain what happened on the play.
Yeah. I got you. No, but they did, and that's what Toby had reported, that they had talked to the referees before the game even started, which is very normal in some circumstances. But Auburn fans want Ben Arbuckle and maybe even Bob Stoops held for war crimes. Where do you stand, Josh?
I do. Like, if the shoe was on the other foot, OU fans would be pissed.
Like,
I get it. Like,
that's what I said on the podcast.
Like, there's a lot of Auburn complaints that I'm like, knock it off. Like, just stop talking about this. Like, the PI that isn't called on Gentry Williams. They score on that drive. What damn difference did it make? Like, it's the same end result. Whatever. At the same time, this one, I get it. I think, though, what I don't like is when the SEC issued that statement, it made it sound like it was clear. What constitutes substitution? Like, he never left the field. Like, guys, and, you look at, like, Tennessee, some of these teams that play the Art Briles offense, they are incredibly wide. Like, they have receivers that are maybe not to this extreme. And, again, OU is gaming this. It's acknowledged by Ben Arbuckle going and talking to them and saying, hey, look, this is what we're going to do here. So I think there's no question that OU was gaming it, but they made it, like, SEC made it sound like the letter of the law was so clear. He didn't sub. Nobody came on for him. He never left the field to play. Like, he didn't do any, like, he just walked over to the staff. So, like, what constitutes, what I think, can't forget what the wording was, enacting a substitute or, mimicking a substitution or whatever it was. He just walked over to the sidelines. Like, he never stepped foot off the field to play. That's my problem, is they made it sound like, oh, well, this is obvious. No, it's not. I just don't think it is.
Yeah, and I think everybody's like, well, it's a deception play. Well, like, you could say that for a lot of plays. Like, at the end of the day, the offense's goal is to deceive the defense. So I just don't think that, and like Josh said, no one was subbing in or out. He didn't do anything. He wasn't like hiding behind a player or anything like that. Like, he literally just walks to the sideline. He points to the ref and makes sure that he's lined up. And again, they checked with the officials. So, like, at the end of the day, I guess it's on the officials. But from their point of view, I can understand them being like, what's deceiving about this? And I know after the game, Hugh Freeze was more angry that they didn't get a timeout in.
That's the thing that I don't understand, because
and that's fair.
That top view, very demonstrative. They're yelling about something. Obviously.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're yelling a timeout or if they're yelling at the players to be like, hey.
And why would the ref not give them the timeout if he's yelling for it?
I don't know. It's very odd.
I almost think that they were like freaking out more about seeing the player unguarded on the other side, like Satania and nobody around him. I just don't understand.
And it's a credit to OU for getting the ball snap too. Like, that's the other thing that I find hilarious.
Can you imagine last year's offense trying to pull something like this off?
Well,
the player probably would have walked off the field.
And that's what to me is real funny, is there's been a lot of Auburn fans that are like, oh, well, you have to have trick plays and all these things to win the game and all this stuff. And it's like, well, credit to OU for coming up with the idea to do it and executing it as well as they did.
Yeah, I mean. I haven't seen that argument, but I'm like, you guys had a stutter and go. That was the entire offense. Like, I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, maybe get more creative. I don't know what to say about that. And I think Hugh Freeze is a really good offensive guy, so that's not really intended for them. That's a terrible argument. Like, that's the whole point of offensive, like, play design, is to be creative, to come up with things. And again, if they want to be clear about what it is, but like mimicking a substitution, I don't know what that means. Like, did he run off? Did Oklahoma have like Ben Arbuckle's whispering in somebody's ears like he's sending a play call in? No, there was none of that. Like he didn't. And there was one clip where you could see it in the game broadcast where it's Arbuckle looking at Satania, and you can see the referee right next to Satania. Like OU did everything that was within their power to do to make it okay, like, and to make sure everybody was clear on it.
It's going to be a storyline that I'm sure is going to follow both of these teams throughout the year, depending on which way each one goes. I know that you were a proponent that it should be talked about in the college football playoff discussion.
That is the most ridiculous take I've ever seen on the internet, is Barrett Sally saying that it should be discussed in the college football playoff discussion. That's insanity.
It seems like a little much, but
it happened in the second quarter.
It was one play in a grand scheme of many plays throughout the game. And as a whole, I think we could all three agree the officiating was terrible.
Oh, it was bad.
It was terrible both ways. It was just simply awful. Some of the things that happened within that game
the pick play
certainly shouldn't happen. Yeah, the Satania. The first one, I have no idea what they called. Like what they actually thought that Satania did. I don't think he makes contact with anybody.
He made contact, but it wasn't like he was. You see pick plays all the time where it's clear he's running into the guy on purpose. That was not the case. I genuinely think, I don't even know if it I don't think it was like a play where Oklahoma was like, yeah, we're going to try and pick this guy. Like, I think he genuinely just hit him.
Second one probably more closely to an offensive PI.
I'm convinced the second one was like, hey, ref, this is how a pick play actually happens, because that is textbook exactly what should be flagged. But the first one, again, I'll say I disagree with George. I 100% think that's what Oklahoma was trying to do. But that's what you see on hundreds of plays every Saturday.
You call it every time.
And yes, you that's the whole point, is to orchestrate it that way. Guys, it's the same thing with like crossing routes. That's the reason the receivers run so close together, and they practice that over and over and over again, because they're trying to pick off the corners. That's the whole point. Like, that's the stuff that, like, you're trying to protect the other team from just simple good orchestration, like simple good planning. That's the stuff I hate. Like, you're punishing Oklahoma for doing a good job really manipulating what they're trying to do offensively and manipulating the defenses and coverages and things like that.
With all that said, it's unfortunate that there's a lot of controversy coming out of this game, because I thought, like, at the end of the day, pretty damn good college football game. Let's start with the defensive side of the ball for Oklahoma. Overall, Josh, pretty dominant effort. We'll get to the defensive line here in a second. Obviously, what they did with the 9 sacks on Saturday. 13 tackles for loss, most since 2023 when they had 15 against Tulsa, the great Tulsa Golden Hurricane program that is flying high in this state right now. 7 players combined for 9 sacks. Jaden Jackson, R. Mason Thomas, obviously. R. Mason Thomas winning the SEC Defensive Lineman of the Week award. Oklahoma, 67 rushing yards. Pretty damn good day overall, though, I think.
I don't know how you could find a lot of flaws. And I mean, again, I look, that's Brent Venables and the coaching staff. They will find plenty of stuff to work on. And, we can talk about the Cortland Guillory stuff and, some of the man-to-man scenarios that Oklahoma was in. But in general, guys, because everybody's going to be like, oh, the defensive line. You go back and watch that game, a lot of those sacks were coverage sacks. And some of that's on Jackson Arnold not pulling the trigger. But there was also some really good downfield coverage from the linebackers to the defensive backs. They did a very nice job. It was more of a team effort than people are going to look at that box score and think.
Josh, were you surprised at all that they were able to shut down Auburn's running game as well as they did? Because I thought that they would slow them down. I mean, there was a point, I think, in right before halftime that they were still in negative yardage.
I don't think – did they come out of negative yardage before the 44-yard run? I want to say, on the broadcast, they said something like now they're at, 27 yards, positive something after that 44-yard run. Like, it was something crazy like that. But yes, I'm surprised. Like, again, I thought Oklahoma would win the line of scrimmage. I didn't think they would just bum rush Auburn. And I mean, guys, from what would you say? Auburn's second possession, you were like, oh, this is a total mismatch. Like Oklahoma's going to dominate them up front. Like because nothing was fluky about it. And you saw plays from Grayson Halton, Marvin Jones, Jaden Jackson probably played his best game at Oklahoma, in my opinion. PJ played really well. Taylor Wine, I know he had the play near the sideline that everybody's going to be upset about, and fairly, you got to finish that play. But I thought he had a nice game. They really played well. But I will say, the group that I thought was underrated, like it's probably going to be underrated as you look back on this game, were the linebackers. I thought Kobe and Kip had outstanding games. And then Heineke made some nice plays. Samuel Masigo, I thought, was all over the place at times in the second half.
Pretty damn impressive. But, you obviously you can't tell the story of Oklahoma versus Auburn without, and I think we mostly did there. But, Josh, this defensive line group, I think that we talked about it on the practice reports during the week leading up into the game. We talked about it on the game day preview as well. You knew that they were going to be tested. Much like Michigan in week 2, Auburn had a group of offensive linemen that we talked about, the 262 combined snaps or starts with that group. It was going to be a very difficult test. And once again, we walk out of there thinking, I mean, what can this group not do? This was an ass whooping up front.
Guys, I think there are two, maybe three, but two for sure clearly elite defensive lines in the country. I think Miami and Oklahoma have the two best defensive lines I've seen in college football, and they are both nasty. And so should those two ever meet, it may be 6-3. Like, they're just going to beat the living crap out of each other. But it is, and I think Texas is very good as well. I wonder a little bit Texas on the inside. But, yeah, this group is special, guys. Like, and the fact they just keep rolling out bodies and to not have – I mean, George, you remember, like, we talked about this in the offseason. Like, outside of R. Mason Thomas, how sure are you that they have, like, true standouts on the defensive line? They didn't have R. Mason Thomas against one of the best offensive lines they'll play this year for an entire half, and they didn't miss a beat.
Yeah, I mean, they were unbelievable. And it's got you thinking too, Josh, like, how many NFL draft picks are on this defensive line? And not just, obviously, this next year. I would think that, Grayson Halton, R. Mason Thomas, Dominic Williams, they'll all get drafted. But Jaden Jackson, David Stone, Taylor Wine, like, some of these younger guys that are like coming along. Marvin Jones Jr. is probably a draft pick too this upcoming draft, but like all these guys are going to get drafted. Like, they've got. When was the last time that they had this many dudes that are NFL type players on the defensive line?
Josh, don't you remember a time too when I think it was after maybe year 1, year 2 when you would answer the questions on the Crimson Corner, like, so what does Todd Bates really do around these parts? I think we're starting to see, just from a development standpoint too, with some of these guys.
Well, it's development and it's evaluations, guys. Like,
sure.
OU, like, we talk all about like NIL and who goes, like, OU made sure they didn't get outbid on Jaden Jackson. They made him a clear priority when a lot of people were just like, oh, David Stone, he's the important one. And, not to say that he's not, but OU saw something in Jaden Jackson that I'm not sure everybody else saw. And now, guys, he's playing like a first-team All-American. Like, he's playing unbelievable football, and I'm not sure everybody's picked up on it yet, but he needs to be in that conversation. And, you talk about a guy in the league that Oklahoma plays in that I think have the best defensive tackle in the league and have one of the top 2 or 3 defensive ends, to forget, like you said, Eddie, George, a whole bunch of other draft picks all around those guys. It's crazy what they put together. And you're right. Like, I think there's so much credit due. It's development, it's evaluation, it's recruit. There's a lot of things at work that have made this defensive line really good. And the scary part is, like, as good as we're talking about, like, there's going to be some guys drafted. I agree with George. All the seniors, Marvin Jones Jr. is playing like a draft pick. R. Mason, we know, is getting drafted. Halton, Dominic Williams. I think all 4 of those guys are going to get drafted. But you look at what they return for next year, and you're like, they're going to be fine. Like they're going to be really good again next year.
George and I had that exact conversation walking back from the stadium over to the offices on Campus Corner on Saturday evening, Josh, when you start thinking about, obviously the retention of Jaden Jackson last year, phenomenal. What he's developing himself into coming off of a freshman All-American season. David Stone, though, that's the guy that I kind of want to spotlight here just in terms of, we talked about it at the beginning of the year, like you were going to need to see development if you wanted to have one of the strongest units in the country. Through 4 games, has David Stone exceeded your expectations that I know were already high? We've been talking about this kid since he was a freshman, sophomore in high school.
I don't think there's any question. Guys, I mean, he is... I don't think, is there much argument that he's Oklahoma's second best defensive tackle right now? Like, I don't think there is. And I think Grayson Halton and Dominic Williams are playing great football. David Stone can do stuff that I don't think anybody else in the roster can do. His length, his athleticism. Again, this play against Michigan's insane, where he chases it from the inside all the way out there and makes a play. Like, guys, other guys that are 310, 315 pounds don't move like that. Like that, it's just unbelievable. And he had the big sack for Jackson Arnold on, I think it was in the second quarter when it might have been right after the Mateer turnover, if I remember right, something like that. But he had the big sack. But in the fourth quarter, we talk about R. Mason Thomas being a closer and all that stuff. David Stone had a couple of big plays on that final drive. Jackson Arnold was trying to break out of the pocket.
Yep.
David Stone tracks him down from the backside. Like stuff like that where you're just like, that's not normal. Like he is. But
this play right here.
Last year we saw, look at that.
That's
I mean,
crazy.
and again, OU's got it covered. There's some other guys who are going to come up and make it before it's a really dangerous play, but he stops him for no gain. Like that's a big time, NFL level play.
Josh, I had a great question in my mailbag this week. Does OU have 2 first-round defensive tackles in David Stone and Jaden Jackson in not this upcoming draft? Obviously, they have another year, but the next draft. Like, could both guys be first-round type of NFL guys?
I think it's possible. I think David, if he keeps playing like he is and growing like he is, I don't think there's any question. His height, his measurables, everything we've heard about David since he's been in Norman, like I think he's going to do well in meetings. That was kind of a thing in high school. You'd hear people talk about, I don't know about David. Like, I don't know if, but Todd knows, Todd, like we're chummy, like, Todd Bates and the whole staff, like they glow about the guy. Like he's always done what they've asked him to do and been there and done the workouts, all that kind of stuff. And I think that was always kind of the question. With Jaden, it's height. Like, does that bother you or does it not bother you? And I think more and more the NFL has gone away from you've got to be X, Y, Z and measurables, and they're more willing to say, this guy's a great player who plays with incredible leverage. Like, again, look at that monster that Auburn starts at right guard. And I'm going to blank on his name, but he's a good player. That guy's a draft pick, guys.
Yeah.
And Jackson, more than once, just got up underneath him and drove him into the backfield. And he's just got strength that is not normal. And I think David could be a top 10 guy. Like that's a possibility. I think Jaden would be in the 20s, but I wouldn't rule it out. I think it's absolutely possible.
There was a ton of positives coming out of the afternoon against Auburn defensively, and especially when you look at third down. Oklahoma's been fantastic on third down, 3 for 15 on Saturday. Auburn was, but Jackson Arnold did make some plays. Let's not act like Auburn was unable to completely move the football, as we talked about in the opening. Cam Coleman, he's going to be catching footballs on Sunday very, very soon, I would imagine this time next year. Eric Singleton had a nice day, 9 receptions, 60 yards. Just overall, I was somewhat, I guess, maybe impressed with Jackson Arnold and just the way that he led. I mean, there was a moment in the fourth quarter with 7 minutes left. You look up and Oklahoma was getting beat on the scoreboard.
Guys, I was joking around, before, I guess here at the start with, it felt like, oh God, George is going to be right. Jackson Arnold's going to pull this off and he's going to do this damn thing. And I think in our little group chat, I sent George, like, it was vaguely passive aggressive. Like, I didn't realize they were going to do this, George. They were just going to leave Cam Coleman to his own devices for an entire game. But it was, guys, I don't know about you, but like I liked Cam Coleman coming in, but getting to watch him, Guys, he's got some Julio Jones stuff to him. Like, he's so big and strong and, like, I mean, just because people can bag on OU's coverage of him. I would say the two where OU really got in trouble were the two OU got away with. Like, the two biggest mistakes I saw were missed throws. You had Devon Jordan jumping that short route on the stutter and go, and, that's got to be free money. Jackson Arnold's got to hit that ball. But at the same time, you look at a couple of the catches, Cortland Guillory is not in bad position at all, and Cam Coleman just makes a hell of a play. Like, the first one, the deep one up the sideline coming out of the north end zone, guys, like, I would say Cortland Guillory breaks that pass up on 7 of 10 receivers in the SEC. And Coleman, the ball never moves. Like, he just has it and it's between his two hands, curls his body around, and it's over. It just, again, super, super impressive.
I thought Singleton played pretty well for them too. I mean, he didn't break loose a ton, but he came up with some catches at number 4. Who's number 4 for them? Is he the one that scored that
Malcolm
touchdown?
Simmons.
Yeah, he's a good player too. So they definitely had some plays where they kind of beat Oklahoma, and maybe Oklahoma was in a bad call. I know Brent said after the game and in his Sunday show as well, just that there was a few times they put them in a bad position. But I mean, that play right there, the touchdown to Coleman, Guillory's not in terrible coverage there.
He's actually just a bad man,
dude. And that's the thing is, like, I guess we're going to get to Guillory here in a second, but sometimes you just got to tip your hat.
Sure. Well, let's go there. I mean, I think that was kind of one of the big, not so much a question mark, but we knew this was going to happen. And talking about true freshman Cortland Guillory, he was left a little bit out on an island on Saturday, and Cam Coleman, being an older player, took advantage of it a little bit. I think everybody after the game on Saturday night, we talked a little bit with, you asked Brent Venables about it, just in terms of, like, what do you say to somebody? I think that for somebody like Cortland, you don't worry too much about the bounce back factor, especially, with what we've heard from him and talking about his confidence. But you do get Eli Bowen back, or expected to come back against Kent State. It will be interesting to see what this rotation looks like. Gentry Williams, I thought, had a pretty good night overall. Yep. Jacoby Johnson got in a little bit, Devon Jordan as well. But just kind of overall, not a whole lot of concern about Cortland Guillory, or I'm reading that wrong?
I'm not super concerned. I'm not sure he's going to play a better receiver than Cam Coleman this year. And Auburn, rightfully so, picked on Cortland a bit and tested him. And I think that's a good learning moment for him. Like, I think that he can take this and learn from it. And look, I think you still feel good about that corner room, especially with Eli Bowen coming back. But like you said, Eddie, I'm not too worried about the kid's confidence or anything like that.
And Josh, like you said, there was many plays. It feels like he's in pretty good position. This is a pretty good open field tackle that you just, sometimes you're going to go 50-50 on it, and the wide receiver is going to make a better play.
Well, and guys, the thing to remember is, and I keep saying this, as good as we're talking about Cam Coleman is, he had 3 catches for 88 yards, guys. Like, if you would have told me that in the pregame, I'd have said OU wins this game by 10. Like, because I thought Cam Coleman and Jackson Arnold were going to have to go nuts, or Eric Singleton, some mix of that group. But and what people are like, well, he had the PIs. Okay, go look at a couple of those. George was dead on in the post game. One of those, if you want to call holding, okay, holding's fine. Like, you could call it, but it was uncatchable. You couldn't call the PI. And again, another a referee mistake. And then secondarily, the one where they're both falling down and, like, Guillory's and I heard as I'm doing the Monday Morning Idiot, I'm listening to the radio call along with it, and Gabe's like, well, he's got to turn around. And again, Gabe's watching it from the field in real time. But if you look, Coleman has all of the shoulder of Guillory's jersey. Guillory couldn't turn around, and so if it's defensive pass interference, it's offensive pass interference too. Like, that goes both ways. They both have a right to the ball. And now another one, like 100% PI, like, I get it. But so there was some stuff there where, again, I don't have a problem with the one PI because it was out of bounds, because it was holding. Like, either, tomato, whatever you want to do. It was just poorly refereed. But again, like, the thing that I tracked this in the Idiot. So on the first deep ball, like I've talked about a couple times, coming out of the north end zone, where Guillory takes a misstep and then Coleman gets him over the top. Auburn goes right back at him the very next play to Horatio Fields, who's another good player, a transfer in, I can't remember from where. And he tries to go vertical. Guillory's right there with him, step for step. The ball goes out of bounds. There's nothing to be had there. I really liked that answer from Cortland, because it would have been easy for a young corner to get down. You just got cooked in a big game by a big-time receiver. He's there on the Auburn sideline. They're letting him hear it. And he comes right back, and he's right where he needs to be and makes a nice play. So that's what impresses me about him, and it's what impressed me about Eli Bowen last year was the maturity these guys have.
Horatio Fields, Wake Forest, where he transferred from over to Auburn. Mm-hmm. Do we think, and just real quick, we'll talk about this over the next couple of weeks, will there be a little bit of a grace period here for somebody like an Eli Bowen to get his legs back underneath him?
I would assume they're going to treat Eli Bowen just like Giovanni Gibson. I think they'll be the same, where they're going to get a lot of run in the Kent State game, because it's a game where you're going to win, and it's just about getting them back on the field, and obviously you want to get them ready to where they can contribute against Texas. But to assume that Eli Bowen's going to come in and be, I mean, maybe he will be, but assume he's just going to immediately be as good as he was last year to start the season. I think that's a little you have to be a little patient.
Sure.
But kind of like Kendall Dolby, we saw him at Temple, and he just didn't look 100% quite yet. I think you're going to have that same thing with Eli Bowen, but it just gives you more depth. You feel a lot better about that room in terms of guys that you can throw out there, especially with Jeremiah Newcomb. I don't know if we've mentioned on here, but Jeremiah Newcomb missing the season this year, it just gives you a little bit more guys to throw out there.
Undoubtedly. Anything else? Peyton Bowen, extremely impressive on Saturday. I think he got a really high grade on.
I think he was the highest rated defensive player, which, by the way, the
PFF.
The Pro Football Focus, I don't want to take anything away from Peyton Bowen. He played great.
George is about to shit on PFF.
I think. They have Jaden Jackson on here for a 67 grade. That's ridiculous. That's an atrocious score. David Stone, 75. That's terrible. What are you talking about? These guys, I don't know what their grading scale is, because that's ridiculous.
The lowest grade on the defense was PJ.
Which he played
PJ
good.
played well.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
I think this will go under the kind of the file that I keep on PFF. If it's good, we celebrate it. If it's bad, we just shit on them and say
yes.
that it means nothing.
Correct.
How about that? You talked about guys getting healthy. Let's flip over to the offensive side, because it's such a cliche line, but it does ring true. This is a great time for the bye week for a number of guys. Before we get into the offensive performance against Auburn, as I knock everything over here, we need to tell you about, how about that? That was a fumble, something that Jackson Arnold hasn't done this year. Harry's, how about that? You look clean shaven today, Georgie.
I am. I use Harry's pretty much every single day. I've been using Harry's too. This isn't anything that I've never used before. I've used Harry's for years for shaving products, so they're great.
And it's more than just shaving products as well. You can get into the. We're trying to take over your bathroom here.
I think they have hair products maybe.
What about this thing?
That Carrie got, where you put on your face.
I don't want to put my face on it, because then this is Carrie's. I don't want to damage it.
I want to get one of those. I think Aaron would actually like to have one of those too.
I was going to say, I think that if you got one,
it'd be Aaron's.
It would be Aaron's.
Yeah,
but you're married, I use that's part of marriage, George.
Yeah, but I use their razor every single day, and their shaving cream, and it's fantastic.
Very good. For a limited time, our listeners, viewers can get Harry trial set for only $8, a free gift at harrys.com/SoonerScoop. Harry's, HARRY.com/SoonerScoop to receive our exclusive discount after you purchase. They will ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them our show sent you there. Very good. Let's talk offense. Thank you to Harry's. Let's talk offense. You ready to talk offense?
I'm ready.
All right. There's some good and some bad. Let's start with the good. How about that? The positives coming out of Saturday. Slow start. But the best news of all was something that we talked about as a storyline going into the week. Jake Michaela as well as Vibechi Wiwu, they were both good to go. They play every offensive snap on Saturday. You saw Logan Howland, 57 snaps. Michael Fasusi, just 9.
Yeah, well, and Fasusi tried to give it a go. It was very clear, even watching him in warmups, he was not moving well. And, he came in. I think he was actually in on the Satania touchdown. He was in on that play, but yeah, he wasn't able to. But talk about, and we had said all week, like, if you could have two of the three, it'd be Michael and Fabechi because you don't got anybody else at center. You at least have somebody in Logan Hallen at left tackle. So that was awesome to see those two guys gut it out. I think you could also tell, I don't know if we're going to get into the run game stuff. I think we will here in a little bit. You could tell there was certain plays where they were just not able to move the way that you need them to, in the run game. But they held up, and I thought they pass protected extremely well. I think the offensive line only gave up 1 sack. So
to a really good defensive line from Auburn that, I think that we paid attention to Folk and those guys up front. Josh, what did you think just overall in terms of Oklahoma offensive line play on Saturday?
I thought it was a strong day. I thought of anybody, and I'm kind of surprised I would say this, I thought Derek Simmons had a pretty solid day, honestly. I thought he played pretty consistently. He did a better job with Keldrick Falk than I really thought that he would. There were a few plays, though, George, you talked about. There were moments where you could tell that, that Fabechi and Jake just weren't quite right. Fabechi's got one where he's pulling on a counter and he runs into Falk, and it's just like he hit a brick wall. Like he had no ability to get underneath him and drive him. Like, again, and I get it. You're fighting an ankle. Like, man, that's not easy to deal with. And against a player like Falk, you're just going to have trouble. And I think it ended up being like a 3-yard loss for Torrey Blaylock. But I think, and I know OU fans are sick of hearing this. Like, I completely get it. You've got to have some understanding of where this offensive line was. Like Jake Michla and Fabechi are playing on one leg, basically. Logan Howland, he spent all offseason working at right tackle, and now he's having to play left tackle, and everything's in reverse. I thought Heath Ozida was a little bit up and down. I thought it was as physical as I'd seen him be, but there were still some mental errors and stuff like that you're hoping he'll continue to grow out of. But I thought it was a gutsy effort, like is the way I would say it. It wasn't clean, it wasn't pretty, but they did what they had to do to get out of there with a win.
I think it's safe to say this offensive line, and I think we already knew this before this game, but it's in a much better place than it was a year ago.
Yeah, very much.
It's
so.
It's not even close,
and
that's not to say that they're like a great unit. I do think though that they're, once they can get healthy,
there's some avenues.
Yeah, once they can get healthy, like you got to get Fasusi back out there. He just raises your ceiling as a group. But I think they're pretty good at right tackle. I think they're really good on the interior in terms of like when they're actually healthy. Like Fabechi was playing good football. I think Heath Ozida is just getting better every game. He had some moments in this game where he wasn't great, but I just think that this is a group that can, if you look up at the end of the season and they stay healthy, you could say, man, that's a pretty good group that Bill Bedenbaugh's got.
All right, I lied to you. Let's stick with some of the bad because I think this kind of leads in. The offensive line, it's going to go hand in hand with the rush game. It was not good. It was not good at all. But neither team was able to run the ball on Saturday. Oklahoma ends up with 32 net yards on 26 carries, 1.2 yards per average. It's not going to cut it in this league if you want to continually try to find ways to win games, especially games that we suspect are going to be very tight third, fourth quarter, back end of second halves. Josh, just in terms of run game, give us a little bit of hope here.
Well, Eddie, don't forget that 1 sack counts to that yardage total. So that could have made a world of difference. That was everything.
Then everything's fixed.
Yeah, it's all better now. That 4 or 5 yards that you lost, it's all cleared up now. No, again, I think we knew the strength of the Auburn defense was the front four, and that showed up. Like they were absolutely dominant. They pushed OU around in the run game, and I think right now this is an offensive line built for the pass game. Like and I know Gabe said something about it, and you watch it on tape. Jake Michla as a pass blocker at center is as good as you'll find. He's really, really good at it. But he's a long, lean guy that wants to, he's not going to bully people on 3rd and 1. That's not his game. So I think you have, kind of a blend of what you're doing schematically, and B, what best suits your line. And it's hard to say, well, you got to change it when your line can't seem to stay healthy from week to week. Like it's hard to build, okay, this is what we've got, this is our personnel, this is what we're going to do, when you can't ever put the same 5 out there from week to week. So I think that's a little bit of a tricky problem. But I agree with George. The group's going to get better. Like this, hearing people say, "Oh, it looks just like last year." The hell it does. Like, this team can pass block. If they can do nothing else, they can pass block. And the communication is better. You're seeing less free runners at the quarterback, like just not obvious mistakes. Guys, the thing that I thought was interesting, and I would be really intrigued if OU wanted to do more of this, when they're using Ryan Foje as a tight end, why not do more of that? Like, what is that going to hurt when you're not getting anything in the passing game out of any tight end not named Jaren Kanak? Like, okay, like put him out there. I don't care if you're running, if you want to use him in a passing situation, like pass out of, what is quote unquote 12 personnel, fine. It doesn't matter. So I think that's kind of an interesting thing to keep an eye on, because I thought when you go in and look at the play that Foje was in, when they try to run off the right side, he folds in the right side of that line. He does a really nice job. And kind of to the point where I was like, well, maybe they could put him out there for a few snaps and Fabechi doesn't have to run the gauntlet for the entire game here, but whatever. But again, like, I think there's some options here that are going to make this better over time. I also, guys, I don't know, like the Jaden Ott conversation, I feel like we'll come back to that when there's a reason to. But Xavier Robinson, I'm really surprised we didn't see any of him on Saturday, or very little of him.
Yeah, I want to see more. I want to see him in the game more. I thought he ran well against Temple, and he just needs to get going. And that's why it's like, look, OU is not going to be a great running football team this year. Like, I think everybody just kind of needs to accept that. Like, they're not going to just start running for 200, 300 yards a game, though they might against Kent State, because Kent State's terrible.
Kent State gave up 498 on the ground over the weekend.
Yeah, so and that's the positive. You maybe can work out some of the kinks in a couple weeks, but it needs to be respectable, and I think it can get there. I think you got to get healthy up front. I think you've got to figure out what are the run plays that you're good at, because I still think Oklahoma doesn't really know yet what, like, is their bread and butter. Like, the GT counter used to be the bread and butter of what Oklahoma did in the run game. I don't think they really have that right now. So they got to figure that out. And I think they still have to figure out running back. As good as Torrey Blaylock has been as a true freshman, I still think there's guys in that room that can provide some more juice to it, and you don't have to rely on just a true freshman. So I don't want to have the Jaden Ott conversation every week. I'm starting to believe there is something going on there, and that he eventually is going to play. I just don't buy that he's not going to play.
How about we take a sabbatical from the Jaden Ott talk today, and then pick up maybe Wednesday. We are expected to talk to Brent Venables on Wednesday night here with the bye week. We should pass that information along, as well as some players. But, the Deion Burks comments after the game about Jaden Ott staying locked in and he's coming, it just, I don't know, the percentage in the back of my brain keeps going down week by week that he's going to be a big part of this offense. But there is still a sliver back there that makes me think, I don't know, maybe, Rodney Anderson burst onto the scene in 2017, halfway at the midpoint of the season. You just never know. We'll take a sabbatical on that. Oklahoma offensively, though, there was some good. John Mateer ends the day 24-36, completes 15 of his last 16, including 11 in a row. Obviously, the game-winning drive, a big part of that came through the air. 271 yards, had a touchdown, was sacked only once. Just overall, there was some bad with John Mateer, but let's talk about the good, and then we'll go over the bad. The good of John Mateer, they had moments, and, Josh, throughout the first half, maybe even a little bit of the third quarter, it seemed like they were starting to find a little bit of rhythm, and then they would shoot themselves in the foot, whether it be, the second quarter fumble or some penalties that got them behind the sticks. Just kind of overall, what'd you think about John Mateer's day?
I thought he showed, again, and I kind of keep going, like, he was gritty. Like, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't flashy. He didn't have any big highlight plays. Now, I will say, and I know you guys kind of talked about it in the maybe it's instant reaction or post-game pod, I can't remember which, the deep ball to Satania in the fourth, that might have been his best throw, but the one that will go forgotten is when he hits Jaren Kanak going into the south end zone there in the third quarter, drops it right over the linebacker, right in front of the safety. It's an unbelievable throw. Like, he made some stuff that maybe didn't end in a touchdown and wasn't super flashy and memorable for people. But, guys, you look at the numbers. This was his second best completion percentage on the season behind, the Illinois State opener. Second best air yards per attempt. His QBR was the second highest it's been all year. Like, he played a pretty solid game. The thing for me was I didn't see the stuff with his feet. Like my only question, like, maybe he was a little dinged up coming out of Temple or something, like, because he just didn't look quite like himself moving around in the pocket at times.
I think he is a little dinged up, Josh. I think
it's not just the offensive lineman. This is a good time for the bye week.
Yeah, I think he's feeling it a little bit, but I mean, again, it's not anything serious. But I noticed that too. He certainly didn't look like the same runner that we saw him against, Michigan or even Temple when he broke the 50-yarder. So I do think that. But I thought John overall was good. He was good when you needed him to be, and that's all you can ask for from your quarterback, especially late in these type of games. So there's that. I think that's the play that Josh was talking about to Kanik. But he also missed on some throws that you're just like, man, you got to hit those. And the offense as a whole too, like I was rewatching the game, they were moving the ball at times, and then they just kind of stalled out, and they either had to kick a field goal or they had the big one was the fumble that he had there in the I think that was the second quarter. Like,
yes.
If they go score on that drive, I think it would have
10-3 at the time.
It would have been 17-3. Yeah. So that was a huge play, and then obviously the throw to Satania there on the game-winning drive was awesome.
And perhaps the best way to finish it with him running it in from 9 yards out, following that Satania, big throw down the east sidelines there. So. Yeah, and there was some bad. Like you said, they missed a lot of throws. John missed a lot of throws that I think that we feel like he makes a lot of the time from what we've seen. The one on the east or the west sidelines to Deion Burks early in the game. This one right here. It's just that's kind of one of those plays that I think from the very small sample size we've seen through the first 3 games, he usually fits that in. He finds ways to, and I thought this one too. Just about, I guess it's coming up, just about missed it with Satania going down the sidelines in the first quarter as well when they had to settle for the field goal.
I think it's this one right here. He almost gets it with one hand there, but yeah.
You tell me if I'm crazy. Like, I'm not, like, we've seen some great deep ball throwers. Like, Jason White was incredible on the deep ball, like some of those kind of guys. I don't know that I've seen at OU a guy that throws up the sideline better. Like, and I mean very specifically along the sideline, his touch to keep it in play, but just like right at his receiver's fingertips. And I'm not saying that he hits everyone, but like it's always like if it's off by a step. Like it's so close, and he's so good at those throws. It just kind of consistently impresses me. The one for me, guys, is when he scrambles out and misses Barnes. That Javonte Barnes walks in for a touchdown, and it was just like it felt like he just kind of rushed it a little bit. Like, because if he just kind of floats it and lets Javonte run under it, and I think that sometimes, if I was going to say there's something that I notice with him, he wants to center mass every throw. Like, it's got to be dead on. I'm like, no, let your receiver work to it. That's okay. Like, especially in the shorter stuff. Like, I feel like sometimes he doesn't want to just kind of feather it in when he could do it that way. Yeah, here's the throw right here. Flushed out to his left. And again, he's under pressure. He escapes it. He's got to throw over a defender. Like, it's not an easy throw. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying he could have let Javonte do some of the lifting there.
One of the other things, too, I just quickly I noticed was he drifted a lot out of the pocket. And if he just stays in the pocket a half second longer or steps up, some guys were running open down the field. He also just missed on a couple. Like, I think it was a 3rd and short, and they're running a little action to Carson Kent, right at the sticks. And Auburn plays it well, but on the backside, Jaron Kanik's running wide open down the seam, and if he hits Kanik there, he scores. And he threw it to Kent, and it was right at the sticks. And if Kent makes the catch, then we're probably not even talking about it. But it's those little things that it's like Mateer's playing really well every single week.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more that could be made with this offense if he just hits a few more plays.
And with all that said, they get the ball back with 7:01 left, and he leads a game-winning drive that ends up being a game-winning drive for Oklahoma. They did a lot of it through the air, too. Yeah. And you saw Isaiah Satania, who ended the day over 100 yards on Saturday, as well as Deion Burks getting involved in that as well.
Yeah, it was awesome. He hit all of his guys in the right spots. I thought the play calling was really good on that drive. You catch a break with the Satania overturn to a catch, which it was a catch, but and then I thought the play call, the quarterback draw there, was a great play call by Ben Arbuckle, and Burks Burks deserves a ton of credit. I mean, he was blocking his ass off down the field there to allow that to happen.
It's not, I don't think, apples to apples comparison or whatever. Is that the right saying? We'll go with it. F it. But it reminded me a lot of the Dylan Gabriel drive against Texas, just in terms, I know that the situation's years apart from one another.
Well, and there was a lot more time.
Sure. But the way that you start with that big throw there to Deion Burks, and all of a sudden it just feels like when you get 8 or 9 or 10 yards on that first throw,
you feel
I don't know. It just feels like, okay, you can do it. You can get going on this thing.
Yeah, and even the running ability on this drive too, like it was like all of a sudden he was feeling pretty good about running the football.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I think he talked about it after
channeling his Baker Mayfield.
Yeah,
so that was a fourth down drive.
I was gonna say, like, you just feel like he's one of those guys, and he talked a little bit about it after the game with the you kind of find out character about who you are as a band, but it just there's I think a sense of relief when you get the ball into John Mateer's hands.
And I think that it's now because people have asked me, like, do you feel, better, or was this expected? Like, I think we all expected OU to start the season 4-0, that these were winnable games against Michigan and Auburn that they should win. I think it's the way they've won those games and kind of closed them out that makes you feel maybe better about this situation, because in both instances, like the Michigan game, they were in control the whole game, but then they go on that 8-minute drive to shut the game down, to win it. And then this one, it's like, this was their first, I think, real adversity hit them late in this game. And to do what they did after kind of struggling all day to move the football, I think was super impressive. And it just gives you faith that when they get stuck in these type of games, which they're going to be in a lot of these, you have a quarterback that you trust to go down the field and win it for you.
Pretty damn good throw for what I could tell on the 2-point conversion there as well.
Yeah, Burks had to lay out for it a bit, but yeah, it was a seed.
I do. George hit on a perfect point. OU fans, buckle up. This is going to be this season. Like, it's going to be fourth quarters, nail biters. Like, OU's going to have to win. And again, I think they're well served from the Michigan game to this game, understanding the little things you've got to do to win games like this, that it's not going to come easy. It's going to be hard. And I think, there is there's no question. The thing that you like about this, guys, I don't think OU's played anywhere near their A game yet. Like, now defensively, okay, yeah. But, like, offensively, I don't think they're anywhere near even what they can be. Like, even if you wanted to say, okay, Josh, they're never going to be perfect this year. Okay, that's fine. They can be a much better team than this. I still think by the end of the year, they can be a viable running attack. I'm not saying they're going to be great or anything like that, but they can be solid where they can keep you honest with it. And then, again, you talk about it, like, there are 2 or 3 plays a game where, as Mateer gets more comfortable with his receivers, more comfortable with what he's doing, he's going to see, guys, on that ninja play, Deion Burks walks in for a touchdown if he just throws it vertical, and he just didn't do it. And then, again, like, this isn't like he's bad. He's the reason that offense is moving the ball. So I don't want to paint it in the wrong light. But at the same time, there's still more to be done there, and it's apparent. It's blatantly obvious.
Much like the defensive side of the ball, adding Eli Bowen, they'll add Giovanni Gibson here over the course of the next couple of weeks into the offensive game plan, and you would imagine that is going to help a little bit. We'll talk about that over the next couple of weeks leading into the Kent State game. Last but not least, Josh, as you said, if you're going to win some of these games, tight ball games in the fourth quarter, on the road, or here in Norman, you're going to have special teams be a problem, or not a problem, but a benefit, like they were on Saturday. That's probably, maybe, the best Doug Deacon's group has played, and maybe the best an OU special teams unit has played in recent memory. I can't remember a time. Tate Sandell, fantastic on Saturday, 3 for 3, had a 49, 32, 28. And then Grayson Miller, as we talked about, the special teams player of the year. And the thing that I'm excited about is the way that they cover. Like Jaden Hardy, Michael Boganowski, guys that are just running down the field
Elijah
like bats
Thomas.
out of hell. Elijah Thomas.
He might be their best special teams guy right now. The cover units, and like, people should know, Auburn has one of the best, if not the best, kick returner in the country in Pleasant. I think he's number 14 returning kicks for him, and they shut him down. Here, you can see him right here. Kip Lewis hits him right off the bat. But, like, the special teams, man, if you can win on special teams, you're going to give yourself a shot every single week.
Guys, you think about it. Tate Sandell scored 10 points, hit 3 meaningful field goals, including one from 40+. and he's not even close to the special teams player of the week for Oklahoma. Like, that tells you all you need to know. Like, the coverage units were great. The place kicking was great. Kickoff was good. And the punting, like, Grayson Miller is an absolute revelation. Like, what he's doing is unbelievable. Like, again, and George, you said, like, I don't know what he's thinking there. And I agree with you. Obviously, you don't want to field that ball. I think he kicked it so damn far, the kid didn't realize how far back he tracked. Like, he was not expecting to have to make that play.
It also seems like, too, and you see Jaden Hardy make the tackle on the on the 66-yard punt. You see Michael Boganowski here. They have a lot of guys that are playing on special teams that I guess in a way could be disgruntled about just playing time in general. You have a lot of guys that it appears give a damn.
Yeah, well, and even guys that are starters. Kip Lewis running down on kickoff.
Sure.
Like, that's not common at most places. And I mean, look, Samuel Masigo on punt. Like, it's a group of guys that I think enjoy it. Reggie Power. Look at David Stone.
David Stone running down.
David's
I mean,
out there.
David Stone needs to make an open field tackle this year. It might be a cause for concern watching it live. That needs to happen.
Yeah, but they take pride in special teams. We know
Great
they work
shot
on
at
it.
Terrible.
We know they work on it a lot in practice, and they've been really good so far. And they have to keep it up because they are going to play a lot of close games. Field position's going to matter, and making these field goals is going to be important.
Maybe a little bit of a question after you missed the the one in the opener, but certainly starting to feel a little bit more comfortable with that situation at place kicker. All right, that is going to do it for the Game Day Rewind. Josh, I know that we talked a little bit about it on the Eskridge Lexus postgame podcast. We talked about it on the Instant Reaction as well here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel. But I don't know. You just felt like you walk away from that one. That one felt like, I know the magnitude surrounding the Michigan game was gargantuan for Brent Venables. This one in a different way felt almost even bigger. The way that they were able to win, the way they were able to kind of grind it out in the fourth quarter, without their A game on Saturday.
Yeah, guys, for me, Michigan was like, get your head above water, like kind of get on the right track. This is where you start stacking stuff and like, okay, now we're building some momentum and we have some reason to believe. And we talked about this all last week, guys. Like, this was a chance for Oklahoma to answer a new test that they hadn't taken. How are you going to deal with receivers? Now, was it always perfect? No, it wasn't. But if you tell me Oklahoma holds Auburn to 17, I think they beat Auburn 95 times out of 100. Like, I just think that they've got enough offense to cover that. So I couldn't have been. It's not fair to say. I thought Oklahoma played the game they needed to play, and I think they're proving things to themselves. Like, we can do this. Like, it's one thing to hear it from your coaches and to hope it's true. I think they're starting to believe like this really can be a great season for OU.
And we'll see how good Michigan and Auburn end up being.
Nice win for Michigan over the weekend.
Nice win, go on the road to Nebraska. But I think you look at this Oklahoma team, and to me, it's the most complete team OU has had under Brent Venables. When you look at, obviously, what they have on defense, I just love all three levels for them. Special teams has been great. And then on offense, you have what I think is one of the best quarterbacks in the country, somebody that you trust, and a play caller that it's not perfect right now, but I do trust Ben Arbuckle to figure out some of the kinks, work some of them out. And that's why, like, you always say, the bye week comes at a perfect time. It legitimately comes at a perfect time for Oklahoma where they can get healthy this week and also maybe work on some of the stuff that hasn't worked very well for them through the first 4 weeks. And you're not reeling because, hey, we lost a game that we shouldn't have. Like, they've taken care of business. Even in the Temple and Illinois State games, they went out and just dominated. So that to me is like, you look across the country and there's a lot of teams struggling at certain points. I feel like Oklahoma right now is one of the more complete teams from top to bottom. They may not be the most talented team in the country, but they are very complete right now.
Oklahoma, just to kind of leave you with this, when holding opponents under 21 points, this was in the game notes, so I'm going to go with it. Mm-hmm. Do you know how many games they've won as a program holding opponents under 21 points?
Like all time?
They've won a certain number of games in a row.
Oh, I have no idea.
Oh.
When holding the opponent under 21.
Probably like 30 or something.
I mean, I bet it's longer than that. I bet it's 60 or more.
85.
Wow. That's
OU's
crazy.
won 85 games when holding an opponent under 21 points. The last time that they lost, Josh, off the top of your head, can you think of it? George might have been in preschool.
Okay.
And I say that sarcastically.
God.
I say that very sarcastically.
So it would have been the 2000s.
It was in 2000s. Yeah.
Yeah.
Early
What-
2000s.
Oh, was
Was
it
it a Bedlam?
TCU?
Nope. Nebraska 2009, a 10-3
Yeah,
loss,
10.
I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah.
Was
That was the
that
game.
and Dominican Sue
Dominican
up in
Sue,
Lincoln.
Yes.
But didn't they lose to
Landed through
TCU?
5 picks.
This could be wrong, and if it is, I never said it, and we'll just
this
act
would
like it
be
never
before
happened.
2009, anyways. So
Okay.
I'm thinking of the 2005.
2005?
Didn't they lose like
First game of my freshman year of
it was
college,
like
George.
14-7 or something?
I don't know. I was blackout, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, well,
That game didn't happen. All right, that's going to do it. Josh, we appreciate it. A really good, positive game day rewind. Obviously, Oklahoma 4-0 heading into the bye week this week. The schedule, I will get into a little bit on the unofficial 40 this week. This weekend, Ryder Cup, plus some of the games around the college football world.
leading
being
this
able to
with
sit
golf.
down.
Come on, man. I know Ryder Cup's a big deal, but the football weekend, you got to lead with the great games that we got coming up in football.
Just make note, people. That's maybe the most unpatriotic thing we have ever heard. Probably cheering for Europe. George Stoia.
No, it's unpatriotic.
Donate to my
mention football
Venmo, people,
first.
and I'll send you the aftermath of this fight that's about to break out in the studio. I'll have it videoed for you.
Well, we know who will win that one. This is American soil. All right, for Josh, George, I'm Eddie. We'll see you back here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel.